Glad to meet you guys and talk a little Teraldigo, which is the varietal that we picked out. You guys seem pretty open in your emails about, trying new things and you're not really kind of stuck in a box. As artists, I'm assuming that's probably, just kind of comes naturally to you guys. So this Teraldigo is a wine that's originally from the northern part of Italy. It's called Trentino Alto Adige. So that particular region is kind of like a cooler climate. But this is going to be definitely something that if you've had like a bigger, bolder red, something that's a little bit spicy, it has these like kind of like blackberry kind of like rustic notes to it, but it also has a lot of like bright red cherry fruits to it. So it has a nice little kind of like yin and yang thing going on. So,
sweet.
I mean, we should probably just stop talking about it and maybe have a taste and see what you guys think.
All right.
This is like a goblet of fire, if you will. Like, how much am I putting in here?
As much as you want. There's no judgments being made here.
No,
well,
I mean,
in
I
that
don't know. Like,
case-
Yeah, I would leave yourself like at least half the cup. That's
All right,
that's
we go.
probably good right there. Because then you can kind of give it that like
This is a big
that swirl
glass.
thing that like everybody tries to like replicate at the restaurants to
The
make
Do
it
I
fancy-
not need to do that?
You could.
fancy
I think
swirl.
it helps.
Oh.
Yeah. It helps just kind of open it up. Like oxygen's really good for wine. So when you're swirling it, it's not just to look fancy and like, ooh, look at this pretty wine. It's actually to kind of let the oxygen mix in with the wine, and it helps to bring out some of the secondary notes of the wine.
Oxygen's
That's
good
what-
for me too, so I like that.
Yeah, it's good for grapes and it's good for Jeff.
All right, so are we sniffing?
When you go through some courses, they teach you to see it first, then you smell it, and then you taste it, and then you kind of reevaluate. So
Gotcha.
you look at it, kind of look at the color. It's got this like magenta, this deep like kind of brownish hue to it. But there's also, if you look on the rim, it's got this like really bright, like I said, magenta kind of color to it. It's real pretty.
So what am I looking for in the sniff?
In the sniff,
wow.
yeah. I mean, this one has. You might get it, you might not, but I always say it's got this like animal hide thing going on. I like to say that better than earthy. It kind of just reminds you of like it's like soil, like you can kind of just smell the earth that
I like
this wine
that.
has
As
been
you can
produced out of.
see, I know soil well.
All right.
Oh
Cheers.
yeah, sure.
Virtual cheers.
What do you think, Reed?
This is actually lighter than I thought it was going to be going into it. Like as far as like,
It looks a lot darker and more rich than it actually tastes.
yeah, that's what I was thinking. I thought it was going to be like I guess like a stronger taste, or maybe more like I guess more of a vinegary taste than I thought.
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of the tartness, I think, from like there's kind of like a pomegranate thing going on.
Oh, it does taste like pomegranate. On a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being sweet and this being dry, where does this fall in that category?
Dry, 10.
Oh, it's a 10.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
So, and that's it. You bring up actually a really good point because, this has a lot of like fruit qualities to it. So as far as like perception of sweetness, someone that, I mean, I've heard people, at the restaurant say like, oh, I like something that's a little bit sweeter, like give me a cab. And I'm like, that's like, couldn't be further from sweet. So I think perception of fruitness is easy to perceive as something sweet. But, when the wine is high quality, like this one is, that fruit character coming through, but not the sugar content can be perceived by someone that's not really educated on that to understand the difference between fruit and sweet and sugar.
Yeah.
This has been thought to dated back to the 15th century. This Teraldigo grape, there's record of it being planted and sold and kind of used as a community wine. This is to go back to your point. You were talking about like entry level wines or someone that like wants to get into wine. Should they start with a wine like this? This is a wine that doesn't need to age for 25 years. You're not going to put it in your cellar, like a Bordeaux would be, and have to wait 20 years till it brings out its best face. This is a wine that you can drink young. It's something that press the juice and a year or two later you can have it. So
I like the idea that like I'm drinking history. I never would have thought. Wine's been around for thousands of years, and it just never occurred to me because I don't drink wine. Like I didn't think about it, and it's like I don't know, 500 years ago, 600 years ago, somebody was drinking this same tasting type of wine from the same grape. Like that's kind of neat to me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. I think that's one of the things that you
Here's
know,
to the 1500s. I don't know. So, if we drink this today, and if I wouldn't have opened this bottle for 5 more years, it would have tasted pretty much exactly the same.
No, probably would have changed a lot.
It would
Yeah,
change, yeah.
red wine like this, as it ages, the red wine breaks down and it becomes a little bit thinner and lighter. For white wine, it's the complete opposite. It gets darker, it gets browner, and kind of, they have opposite ways of reacting to time and oxygen.
So as far as like the reasoning why like you drink red wine, like room temperature, what is the reason behind that? As far as like, like with white wine, you drink it cold.
Yeah, so I think white wine preserves better cold because it's typically not something that you're waiting a long time to drink. So you want to have it fresh, and I think a little bit of chill helps that. I'm a firm believer in tasting something a little bit slightly colder than room temperature on reds and whites. I think kind of like with whites, putting it in the fridge, it's too cold. I kind of bring it out and let it sit for a minute and warm up a little bit. With red wines, instead of it being, 75 degrees or whatever room temperature would be in your house, having it at 65 or something is ideal. I think there's a nice balance in temperature, chill versus warm, that, you really get front to back when you're tasting something. You can try to really like grab a hold of like every piece of that flavor wave, as they talk about, when you're thinking about, the acidity on the side of the mouth, or the fruit, or the bitterness, or the sweetness, if there is an element of that.
I think Flavor Wave is going to be my next band name.
Flavor Wave.
I love that.
Well, I tell you what, that's one thing about this wine that you'll notice from the time that you open it. And honestly, if, even after the phone call, go back to it an hour from now and kind of take a mental note about what this tastes like right now. And then 45 minutes from now or a half hour from now, taste it again. Even from when I opened it, and I opened it about 30 minutes before we started this show.
Oh, it'll change.
It'll change, definitely. Yeah, and that's what the oxygen does to it. So, and this is, a younger wine typically, it can change pretty quick in front of you, as does older wines too. But this one in particular, the longer it sits, you'll see that tartness. I think you were talking about kind of like a vinegary feel to it. I see where you get that from. That will mellow out, and you'll start to get some more of that like plush, like black and blue fruit.
I do have a last question, Jeremy. At how many do I have, like a day to drink this? Like, can I drink it tomorrow and it's fine, or is it like game over?
No. I think 2 to 3 days is good.
Oh, okay. So I put the cork back in as well as I can, and I can just set it on my counter. It doesn't need to do anything other than that.
Yeah, as long as you don't keep it somewhere that's going to be warm. Keep it away from the microwave, something like that might like if you turn it on.
Room temperature is fine though.
Yeah.
Sweet. Gentlemen, thank you. Jeremy, thank you for your patience and your wisdom. Reed, I will see you next week at rehearsal. And I'm going to drink this wine.
I'm out of this one. I'm going to fill it up.
Cheers,
everybody.
Cheers.
Till next time.